Hello friends, it's Alexis and welcome to a brand new mystery thriller reading challenge for 2026. I have been working on this for months now and I'm so excited to finally be sharing it with you. I have created a mystery thriller bingo board reading challenge for 2026. Let's get the rules out of the way. And the main thing is, although this is a challenge, the main rule is to have fun. I'm not out here policing anybody. You can use this bingo board however you want to complete it. If you think a book fits, use it. But for me personally, I will be following a few rules. So first of all, this is a mystery thriller challenge. So each book should be in the mystery thriller genre. If you want to read a horror book that has thrillery elements or a romance with like a cozy mystery aspect, go for it. This is not competitive. This is your own personal challenge. So whatever you want to use to complete it, I'm just happy you're participating. For me, I am going to try to stick very strictly to that genre because the whole point in creating this challenge is I want to read more mysteries and thrillers. Each space on the board will have a reading prompt that you have to match up to a book. You have to read that book in order to black out the square. Each space on the bingo board should be its own book. There's no doubling up when it comes to this challenge. If you want to break the rules, again, I'm not going to police you. Do whatever you want. But for me personally, I will be reading one book per one square. Next up, how do you complete this challenge and win bingo? Well, there are two ways. There's the classic way you play bingo, which is to just get 5 in a row. So that's to read 5 books that complete 5 prompts next to each other. So you can do a row across, a column down, or diagonal to get bingo and complete the challenge. Or if you're feeling ambitious and really want to challenge yourself, you can try and black out the entire board by reading 25 different mystery thriller books. This is the route I am going to be taking. Officially, this is going to be a challenge for 2026, meaning it's starting on January 1st, 2026 and running until December 31st, 2026. Again, if you want to start this early and start it tomorrow or December 1st, 2025, go for it. If you are watching this in the future and missed out on the official start, you can start this at any time. You're not trying to complete it faster than anyone else, so go at your own pace and make the board work for you. And finally, the very last thing before I show you the board and go through each prompt and give you some recommendations for each space, I have to shout out 2 other booktubers who inspired me to create this with their own bingo board. So of course, if you've watched my channel before, then you might have heard me talk about horror bingo created by Sarah from Wicked Reading. The challenge I participated in last year, as well as I'm doing it again this year. And then new this year, Cassidy from Covers with Cassidy is also doing a bingo board challenge based on the romantasy genre. So I will have both of their announcement videos linked below. If you are interested in reading those genres, make sure you check them out. I will be participating in both of their challenges as well as my own. I know that's ambitious, but I can't pass up a good reading challenge. But now, what you've all been waiting for, here she is, my mystery thriller bingo board for 2026. Okay, now let's go through each individual prompt. I'm going to kind of explain it to you, let you know what fits, and then give you some book recommendations. Almost every book that I mention in this video is one I have read and recommend. If I have not read it, or maybe I didn't really like it, I will let you know when we get to it. And if you're interested to know what I'll be reading for each of these prompts, I am going to put out a separate TBR video, so make sure you subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss that. But without further ado, let's get into our prompts. Our very first square is going to be a mystery or thriller book written by a BIPOC author. I did forget to mention, if you have any recommendations for any of the spaces I talk about, please leave them in a comment below. I think it'd be really cool if anybody is struggling to find a book to fit a prompt, if you could just come to the comment section and look through at what other people are recommending. I know I definitely will be doing that. So this is a pretty self-explanatory space. In order to complete this prompt, you would have to read a book that was written by a Black, Indigenous, or person of color author. So some of my favorite thriller authors that would fit this are S.A. Cosby and Alyssa Cole. Or if you want to go the cozy mystery route, there's Mia P. Manasala or Jessie Q. Sutanto. Next up, we have a book with a house on the cover. I'm not going to be too picky about this. If you want to count a hotel or a barn, as long as it's something that you could argue somebody could live in, it's got 4 walls and a roof, it counts. And my recommendations for this one are Not a Happy Family by Sherry Lupina, None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell, and Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister. Moving on to space number 3. This is our first trope space, and for this one, you have to read a book that has to do with a hidden identity or past. So this is a really common trope in mystery thrillers, hence why I picked it. But this is essentially where a character, usually the main character, but doesn't have to be, is hiding something. They are hiding a secret. There is something about their past that they're hiding that we don't know about. It could be their identity. They're not really who they say they are, that kind of thing. And my recommendations for this one are The Only One Left by Riley Sager, All Her Little Secrets by Wanda M. Morris, and Julie Chan is Dead by Leanne Zhang. Next up, we have one of my favorite themes in mystery thrillers, and that is revenge. So this is a story where the main character feels wronged or somebody they love was wronged, and they are enacting revenge. My recommendations for this one are Kill for Me, Kill for You by Steve Kavanaugh, Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby, and Confessions by Kanae Minato. And now moving on to our last space in the first row, we have 2 or more points of view. So this is a story being told by more than one narrator. A lot of books in this genre have a big cast of characters, so we're flipping all over when it comes to the point of views. And my recommendation for this one is really what inspired this prompt, and that is any Lucy Foley book. She has so many narrators, so many points of views in all of her stories that I personally find them a little bit confusing, but if you're a fan of mystery thrillers with a big cast of characters, she is your way to go. Or you can go with something a little smaller like the Thursday Murder Club, which I believe has 4 or 5 points of view, or only 2 points of view like Local Woman Missing. Moving on down to the second row for our first prompt, we have a small town setting. So this one should be pretty self-explanatory. Again, it's just set in a small town. I will leave what counts as a small town up to your interpretation, but I'm thinking a close-knit community, everybody sort of knows each other. You usually have tropes where the locals are trying to cover things up because they don't want anything bad happening in their town. And you'll often find this one in stories where the main character has to go back to their hometown to face something dark from their past, like my first recommendation, Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. You'll also find a small town setting in All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Cosby, or Winter Counts by David Haseka Wanbley Wyden. Next up, we have our first space that I have not read any of these books, which makes sense because this is to read a 2026 release. So just to give you some books that I'm looking forward to that I might possibly use for this prompt, we have Read Between the Lines by Jessie Q. Sutanto and The Heirs by Farida Abike Eminye. But other popular thriller authors that are also coming out with new releases in 2026 include Alice Feeney, Riley Sager, Rachel Hawkins, and John Mars. Our next space is to read a book containing dual timelines. So with this, we often have 2 separate crimes happening at different times, but they're connected somehow. Books that include dual timelines are The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James, In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead, and Dark Places by Gillian Flynn. This next prompt is another favorite trope of mine, and that is Eat the Rich. So these are books about rich people behaving badly and bonus points if they get what they deserve, if you know what I'm saying. Books that contain this theme are Guillotine by Delilah S. Dawson, the reason I made this prompt, one of my favorite books ever. Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia, which you could argue is more in the horror genre, but that's what I mean by whatever you feel works, because although this might be horror, it also has a big mystery throughout it. And this is also present in The Family Game by Catherine Stedman, one of the few books in this video that I did not like. I gave this one 1 star for reasons, but it would definitely fit this trope. So I still want to recommend it because everybody feels differently about books. Something I disliked, you might love. And last up for row 2, we have a mystery thriller that centers around a big event. So I'm thinking of the thrillers that have to do with the days leading up to a big wedding when something terrible happens, like The Guest List by Lucy Foley, or You're Invited by Amanda J. Atissa, or a college reunion like in My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. It could be any event as long as you think it counts and it has a big part in the story. A birthday party, an anniversary, a big family vacation, whatever you think works. All right, moving right along to our next row, we have a new to you author. So this is a author that you've never read from before. I obviously can't give personalized recommendations for this one because this is going to be different for everyone. But to give you a little sneak peek to my TBR, I'm considering reading a Frida McFadden book for this space because I have never read anything by her. I know she is such a popular author in the thriller world lately that I have to give something by her a try. I just don't know which one, so please leave me recommendations in the comments below. Which is your favorite book by her? Next space is a classic one when it comes to mysteries and thrillers, and that is A Missing Person. So this is a story surrounding the disappearance of somebody and the mystery of what happened. Recommendations for this one are The God of the Woods by Liz Moore, Sisters of the Lost Nation by Nick Medina, another one that I didn't exactly love, but maybe you will enjoy it more. And then an all-time favorite, Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter. Our next space is the middle of the board where there is usually a free space, but I wanted to make it a little more fun. So for this space, the challenge is to predict the ending. I know not everybody is able to do this, so that's why I want it to count as the free space. You can use any book for this space, but wouldn't it be fun if you predicted the ending, got it right, and you got to use that book for the square? So again, no recommendations for this space, but I am excited to see what everybody ends up reading and all of the endings that you were able to predict right. Next prompt is a classic for the mystery thriller genre, and that is to read a book with a detective character. You could go the classic route and read an Agatha Christie. You could also read All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Cosby that has a sheriff main character. Or if you want to stretch the prompt a little, I will also accept detective adjacent occupations, like in The Butcher and the Wren, the main character is a forensic pathologist, so close enough to a detective in my book. And last up in this row, we have a friend recommendation. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put all of the spaces that I can't recommend books for in the same row, but it's kind of funny how it worked out that way. So for this space, this is any book that a friend has recommended to you, either a friend you know in real life, a friend on the internet. I totally count booktubers as my friends, and you can use this video or any video on my channel where I talk about mysteries and thrillers, and you can count any book I've mentioned as a friend recommendation for this space. Onto our fourth row of the bingo board, and this prompt is a personal favorite of mine. I absolutely eat up thrillers that have this, and that is an isolated setting. So this is a story usually set in one single location that is isolated from the rest of the world. So we have Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney that takes place in a remote cabin in the snowy woods. No Exit by Taylor Adams that takes place at a rest stop in the middle of a blizzard. Or The Stowaway by James S. Murray and Darren Wehrmouth that takes place on a cruise ship where a serial killer is loose. This next space is a fun one. This is just something I noticed, a common theme that popped up a lot when looking at popular mystery thrillers, and that is the word girl or woman in the title. So some examples for this are The It Girl, Reckless Girls, The Girls I've Been, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, Pretty Girls, An Anonymous Girl, Gone Girl, The Girl on the Train, or Local Woman Missing and The Woman in the Window. If you want to use the plural form, so girls or women, absolutely go for it. Our next prompt is a story about a cold case. So this is an unsolved mystery that has stopped being actively pursued, usually because it happened a while ago and all of the current leads have dried up, so they really have no evidence to go off of anymore. This is another common one that you see a lot in mysteries and thrillers, so some recommendations for this. Again, Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson, and The Book of Cold Cases by Simone St. James. This one was not my favorite by this author, but definitely fits the prompt. Next is to read a book containing LGBTQ plus representation. So this is a mystery thriller book containing queer representation. Bonus points if its own voices and the author is also a part of the queer community. Recommendations for this one are They Never Learn by Lane Fargo, an absolute favorite with sapphic representation. I believe lesbian, but I don't support bi erasure on this channel, so I can't say confidently that it's not bisexual representation. We also have Ace of Spades, which I think I remember having bisexual and gay representation. And then a book I have not read yet, but I heard has good bisexual rep, is What Lies in the Woods by Kate Alice Marshall, and I have read other books from this author that I've enjoyed in the past. Our final space for this row is going to be another fun favorite trope that pops up a lot, and that is the killer is back. So this refers to a story where crimes have happened in the past and the killer either died or was arrested, put into jail, but now in the present day, crimes are happening again that fit the MO of the original killer. So either the killer has escaped from prison, come back from the dead, or you have a copycat killer situation. But either way, the killer is back, crimes are happening again. Some books with this trope are A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham, Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson, and Jar of Hearts by Jennifer Hillier. We have finally made it to the last row of the board. For our first space, we have a very popular trope, and that is an amateur sleuth main character. I feel like a lot of the books I've already mentioned work for this one. This is just any main character that is not employed as a detective police officer, and they are taking the investigation into their own hands. They are getting to the bottom of this mystery on their own. They are not waiting for anybody else to solve it. Some good ones for this are Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone by Benjamin Stevenson, The Maid by Nita Prose, or a favorite, The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. The next prompt is one that I haven't seen a ton of, but every time it pops up, I absolutely love it, and that is to read from the serial killer's point of view. Now, that doesn't mean the entire book has to be from the serial killer's point of view, but if you're looking for that, You by Carolyn Kepnes is a good one. This can just be a few chapters or even one chapter for this to count. Some other books that would work for this are The One by John Mars, Butcher and the Wren, My Lovely Wife, or I would even count Butcher and Blackbird by Brynne Weaver. It has enough of the thriller elements. It counts. Our next space is to read a mystery thriller book that has a podcast element. So this could be a story like The Night Swim by Megan Golden that just includes a podcast. The main character hosts a true crime podcast, or where the whole book is told in sort of a podcast format, as if you're listening to a true crime podcast, such as Sadie by Courtney Summers or None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. As such a big fan of thriller audiobooks and true crime podcasts, I love when they come together, so I knew I had to include this on my bingo board. It's one of my favorite things in thriller audiobooks. This next one is a fun classic trope, and that is The Husband Did It. Now, I'm not saying you literally have to read a book where the husband did it, because then we're gonna run into a lot of spoilers when it comes to recommendations. For this prompt to count, you should read a book where the husband is mentioned in the synopsis as being suspicious. He is suspected of committing a crime. And I recognize that this one is a little more specific, a little more niche. So if you can't find anything like that, just read a domestic thriller for this prompt. I want this to be fun. I don't want anybody to be really struggling to find a book that fits. But some books I would recommend that would fit this are The Kind Worth Killing by Peter Swanson, Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn, the book that inspired this prompt, and A Good Marriage by Kimberly McCreight. And now for our final bingo space, we have The Unreliable Narrator. This is another classic one. We see it a lot in mystery thrillers, and this is that you cannot fully trust your narrator. Either they are intentionally lying to the reader, withholding information, maybe they don't have all of the information themselves, or maybe there is some underlying condition that prevents them from being totally reliable. So an illness or trauma they've experienced in the past that has really really messed with their recollection of events. An author that does this really well is Alex Michaelides, so The Silent Patient or The Fury would count for this prompt. We also have a classic, The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins, a book I read a very, very long time ago in my baby thriller days. Or a very divisive book that I personally loved, The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. But just like a lot of the prompts we talked about, books that I recommended for other prompts could also fit this one. I tried to make these very broad prompts that they have a lot of books that you can match up with. But that is going to be it from me today. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you if you are going to participate in this challenge in 2026. I cannot wait to see everybody's TBRs. And if you post your TBR anywhere, please tag me so I can see it. I will have the bingo board linked below if you want to download your own copy. I will also be sharing a template over on Instagram, so you can follow me there if you don't already, and keep up on my bingo board progress throughout the year. I already mentioned it, but please fill the comments with your recommendations. And if you just like to leave me an emoji to let me know you are here, our emoji of the video has to be a knife. But as always, friends, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much if you are considering participating. I hope you read a good book today, and I will see you soon in my next one. Bye.